I'm Stacy. I'm a psychotherapist. I work primarily with people who are raised by codependents and narcissists who are also very heavy on the empathic scale, to come to center. So I have my own philosophies about that. I've had my own journey about that. That's my passion in life, is helping people recover from the duality of self that exists when you're trapped in that kind of family system. I'm also an author, which is, if I could get away with being anything in the world, all I would do is write. But I also am a YouTuber, so I show up on camera sometimes very reluctantly. And that's the wonderful alchemist in me that just kind of shows up and is like, okay, it's gonna be fine. I do whatever the hell I want to do. And somehow it's okay. Somehow I've been okay. But yes, I am an alchemist through and through. Oh yeah, sorry. I am a connector and a nurturer.
And what I want to hear from you, right, is when you did that first quiz. And you know what, actually some alchemists join SMA without doing the quiz, which is always interesting in itself too, because you kind of just you went, okay, I get it. Who am I, right? But when you first heard the strengths and challenges of the alchemist, what was your first big aha?
So even this is how terrible of a business person I am. When Adele said that she had not applied that alchemist thing to her business, I literally have not until this very moment, because I just realized that I actually rely on my connector nurture for my business. And my biggest aha, because in my personal life, I can manifest anything like that, except then I see contrast with like clients who are super rich. And then I'm like, what the fuck? Why didn't I decide to manifest that? Like, where did that come from? I didn't know that was possible, right? So my biggest aha actually was, people will always say to me, like, dude, why don't you charge money for, like, your YouTube channel is ridiculous. Like, stop doing what you're doing. You're giving away all of this information. I'd be like, what do you mean? I said, this is what I did. And I have a following, and I could theoretically be in a position to make millions of dollars. And like, life coaches look at me and they're like, oh, it's no excuse that you have 4 kids and that you're like doing all of this by yourself, right? And I'm like, oh my God, I see the cognitive dissonance of like, I could be that person, but also I just am like, I don't know. It was weird for me to go, wait, people will literally pay me for when I'm giving them away for free, while I'm struggling most of the time to like make sure I can sustain a life for my family. So hearing that people will pay for ideas was intriguing to me, because I guess I didn't, like, now I'm at a place where people like want to talk to me and I'm like, yo, I get paid to talk to people. Like, I get paid to go to that connector place that before I would just give that away to everybody. So to hear that actually the truth is, that's why people have hired me all along, is for my ideas. And I'm like you, Denise, I just show up. I'm unprepared. I'm like, oh my God, I hope I don't forget like what I would even want to say. And most of the time I do. And people pay me just to do that, just to show up to their experience and give them new ideas about it. And that was like, what? And that's why every coach that I've ever worked with has been like, what is your problem? You are the worst. Like, what aren't you getting? And I'm like, what? I hate asking for money too, because I'm like the nurture connector. So I'm like, oh, I just want to give everything away for free. And I'll save the alchemist part for my own personal life to like find random shit on the side of the road that I want constantly, right? But I have not actually until this very moment even considered applying the alchemist frequency to my business, which is a very weird thought. And it feels very fun to think about.
I want to hear though about some of how these sabotages of your archetype, especially before you knew what they were. So it could be either, you know, that you commit to the wrong thing and then realize your mistake, or, you know, you buy 1 million domain names, or, you know, you've been trapped like my friend, or, you know, you haven't read stuff and you've made mistakes. Like, where has that kind of been a little bit of your downfall in your business?
Well, I don't even know what to say at this point. I kind of resonate with everybody. I think that I come a little bit from a different angle, in that like my sabotage is actually that I don't treat my business like it's anything. because I don't want to depend on it. So I'm like, fuck you, you work for me, basically. And it does weirdly, like my business energetically. And that's why like sometimes I have to just listen and it's like, no, now's not the time to scale, Stacey. Like you have this particular life and these circumstances. And then I'm like, but I see this contrast. It's like, what are you talking about? Is this like self-denial? And I show up to it when I can't not. I do not show up consistently. I don't, I show up to it when my body is saying like, okay, like now is the time. And I honor my business in that way, but really I've created it in such a way that I never intended to be an entrepreneur. I just didn't want to leave my kids. So I homeschool my kids. I co-sleep with my kids. I'm running a business. I'm the breadwinner of a family. And I did it that way because of one reason only, and it was to not have to leave my kids. So the fact that I'm even in business is insane to me and the fact that it's sustained me for this long, which is like obviously the alchemist, right? People would be like, how the hell did you do that? I don't know. I literally put up a sign. And then I have clients come to me and they're like, if I'm going to be in business, I need a lawyer. I need this, I need that. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I still don't have any of those things. Like what? So my sabotages are, it's not, I don't button things up because I'm a mess. And that's just who I am. I'm like, I'm not. So I have a whole bunch of things that I do actually finish. I just don't share. And that's annoying because I don't market. Like I will send newsletters and be like, hey guys, love you, basically giving you some tap in vibrationally. And then I'm like, and by the way, maybe you would maybe think about wanting to buy this thing that I'm not even going to tell you any fucking thing about. I'm just going to say it exists. Right. So my biggest sabotage is my fear of yes, and that sense of wanting more, and then feeling so grateful for what I have, and being like, I'm in the best position I've ever been in my life. I have a family that loves me. I have a fucking roof over my head. I feel great in my body. And how dare I want more when I'm working with people that have so much and they want what I have. And I'm like, wait, what's happening? Right? Because they want that like tap in of that frequency of and that relationship, right? I work with people who really want to connect in relationships, but they attract the money and they attract, because they're also probably alchemists, all of these things, and they still are miserable. And I'm not miserable, and I don't even attract those things. And that was the thing. That's why I joined Money Bootcamp, because I had a client who attracted a $250,000 check as a fucking present. And she doesn't even like do anything ever. And I was like, I can't be her therapist because I literally hate this person right now. So that's when I joined boot camp, because and it was also too, when my best friend of a really long time, she like doesn't have an education, doesn't have anything. She was like, I'm going to get this job making $85,000 a year while I was really, really struggling. And she was like, I deserve it. And I was like, wait, I have like 10 years of education. I've like done all of the things that was promised to me to not be in a hole. And here I am like buried financially. And when she said, I deserve it, I like literally, I felt this like rage and hate for her. That I was like, whoa, I gotta do Money Boot Camp because I fucking hate people all of a sudden if I really pay attention to my money scripts. So, and they were big, they still are big, but yeah.
I had no idea about this alchemist rage side, guys. I am so excited because it's like, it's like the evil Poppy sometimes comes out, right? Or like whoever is the dark side, like when Samantha in Bewitched had was it her cousin with the dark hair who was like a mean version of her? And this is so fascinating because it's not fair sometimes, right? But I'm guessing you guys all justify it to go, it's not fair and I'm really pissed off. But to be fair, they're organized, or they really worked for it, or they've got a degree, or they've done this thing and therefore they have. And I don't deserve to have that because I'm a flake, or I don't know what my one thing is. I want you to think of baby you, okay? Because Janet really brought up that really interesting thing about being a kid. And I think sometimes alchemists feel like they're in arrested development of going, people won't take me seriously. Grown-ups won't listen to what I have to say. I'm not like, and that whole imposter syndrome thing around, your childlike ideas and spirit. It could be something like that. And tell me, when did this alchemy show up? How did it show up for you? And what negative feedback did you get about your alchemy? And it could have been like, oh God, they're doing it again. Oh, and yet another thing. or, you know, put that away or stop daydreaming or something like that, because I want us to be able to connect with when you realize that this wasn't a valuable thing, or when you thought that this is something that has to stay in your childhood, or it's, you know, it's not just an innate sense of who you are, that is valuable in the world. Does that make sense? And go wherever you want to on that. But I want to hear a story about your, you know, your younger self and how the alchemy was always there.
Hi. Okay, so I finally found my pen. I'm so excited. So one of the things I want to say is that witch wound thing, it theoretically stems back to this baby situation, but I was so afraid of that. And I actually, like, I went and saw Teal Swan one time, and I was like, dude, how do you do it? How do you deal with the projections? Like, how do you do this? Because the projections I get the most are that I'm a witch, right? Or that I am literally, I am part of this devilish, like I'm the devil, which is insane, right? So, and I don't, you know, I attract spiritual people, so I understand to some degree that I'm going to get the polarization of that. And that was crazy. So my point in that, though, is when it comes to your little baby self, and this witch wound is very, very old in my DNA. This is not a this life thing either. But I grew up, and this is like where I think most of my stuff is my upbringing. So it's interesting to see other people grow up, like be the same, but not have the same experience. Like when I was in first grade, I literally threw up every single day and had diarrhea every single day before I went to this teacher. And my mom would, 6 kids were taken out of that class that year because the teacher was tenured. She was horrible. My mom kept saying, you're going to have a boss you hate one day. You better deal with it now. Every fucking day I threw up and I shit myself. And she still sent me to this lady because she told me I was going to have a boss one day. So I had to deal with it now. So if I would say, I want this, I want that, she'd be like, well, she would immediately tell me I was ungrateful. She would tell me I can wish in one hand and shit in the other and see which one fills up faster. And every time I would just be like, I would see something. And this is interesting because I do have a daughter right now that I would say is probably also going to be an alchemist. And I don't want to stifle her, but her desires and me knowing I'm not in a position to get them for her triggers the fuck out of me. Like, I don't like hearing how excited and colorful and poppy she is, because I'm like, oh, I really want that to be true, but there's this dense, dark world that we live on. And I like, right. So it's weird. And if I would say like, I want this thing, she would be like, oh, you think you're so great, blah, blah, blah. What makes you think you deserve that? She would literally say like, you don't deserve that. I don't think there was ever a time for me. I literally think in my self-work, I've had to go all the way back to infancy to reclaim that, like, oh, that's my signature. Interesting. That's what I feel like without all of that programming. But the thing about me too is not all of my parts have been on board with my alchemist, and like my connector and nurturer are like, it's like alchemist is 37, connectors 30, and nurturers like 29 or something. So my alchemist always reigned, but my nurturer, my controller, my other parts that hate that the alchemist is sovereign of the system and does whatever she wants anyway, just sit around and judge myself for doing what I'm going to do anyway, right? I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe you're doing it this way. You're living your life this way. And I am the person, like my mom was right. She would be like, you're going to do it anyway. So why do I even bother? And that alchemist part is my natural. I feel like it's the first time I've ever been home in my life is to accept these various parts of me and let them kind of settle where they do, instead of trying to change them like every other freaking thing in my life would have me do. So I feel like this is my signature, but it took me a really long time to get there. And I don't think that there was ever a moment in my upbringing where I was like allowed to even vibrate in an alchemy way. And that's fucked up. Like I had to literally like change my own temperature to be where I was. So now that I can like vibrate there and also not judge myself for being there, that's a pretty cool thing. So.
And then the other thing I would love as well is there a character from a movie or a TV show that you really resonated with as a kid, or that you saw could be like you, even if it was a negative depiction? You know, in the movie The Sound of Music, like all the nuns get together and they go, how do we solve a problem like Maria? And I just think there's something there too about going, wow, instead of how can we use someone like Maria to show that you know, the nunnery is fun and young people can join and you can be creative and still be a person of faith. Instead, they're going, yeah, okay, how do we solve a problem like Mattia? That's brilliant. And isn't that such a damaging lesson that creative people could get from so many movies and TV shows of just going, we need to solve this problem. We need to get her to get organized and bring her books on time and wear the right uniform and not go out and play with dirt. And how can we make her conform so she can be like us? And if she can't, then let's kick her out, you know? So thinking about who that could be as your connector.
Definitely for me, and maybe this is bad, I've never really thought about it, and I didn't see a lot of TV growing up, but probably Pocahontas, because her dad was like, don't. She was like, whatever, dude, I'm doing it. Right? Like she had a tribe that she also was like, but you're not like, I'm not going to do this just because you're my tribe. And I think that that's a very resonant programming to my personality with my family of origin and just like people in general.
What about Moana? Did that feel the same for you when you saw Moana?
Moana is so cute. Oh my God, that scene where the turtle is like coming at the water. Yes, I do feel the same about Moana.
So I just want to shift gears for the next 15 minutes and talk about you and the world of entrepreneurship and the world of courses. Because when I was talking to the accumulators, there's some really interesting stuff about what makes them join a program versus what really turns them off a program. And so sometimes I find that alchemists, they just feel into it and it's like, yeah, cool. But is there something that you see either, you know, from joining SMA or joining boot camp or things that have turned you off where you haven't joined other programs or you took a while to join mine? I don't know. Is there something you just go, yeah, if I see that, it's not for me? Or if I see that, I go, yes, that is for me. And we don't have to go in any order, just literally just put your hand up or unmute yourself.
It's so interesting. Well, it's interesting to hear everybody's stuff because like my mind does not operate like that. I definitely operate by my own energetics. So when I'm like, well, yeah, that's nice. That was nice. The permission to like do it half-assed or whatever. But I only sign up for things that I ask for vibrationally, and then they come into my field and I will go, no, that's not my channel, or yes, that's my channel. And I just always look at it like, you know, dolphin sonar. I don't have any feedback to give you in strategy and things like that. And maybe that's probably a downfall to my own business right there, is that I don't operate like that at all. I just purely do things based on, yes, my body and everything in me is saying yes, or yes, most of my parts are saying yes, and I asked for it, so I might as well just try it. But ironically, the funny thing is, and this is the rebel in me, is every other course I've ever taken, I didn't really finish it on time. And with the not having to finish it on time, I finished it on time because I wanted to, right? I had that permission to like, yeah, you do what you want instead of me telling you what to do. And I was like, oh, okay, fine. I'll grapple at your feet if you let me do whatever I want, basically.
And I was just thinking, you know, my hypothesis around alchemists in programs is that you often don't do the program at all. You just absorb the information. Is that true or not true? You just kind of like, oh, I get that from that person. Yeah. And it's just like, now I know Kung Fu. You just like download it into my brain. But what things help you download it? Is it having the podcast app, having transcripts, having, you know, the nice colorful handouts?
It is the reminder, theoretically, even like the reminder, like, yes, you're supposed to be here, right? Because even recently I did this thing where I was like, okay, I'm going to let my YouTubers like give me money. I'm trying to raise money for something. Literally every single person that donated money to me did like $33, $8.88, right? And every time I was like, oh my God, you're my person. Oh my God, you're my person. And it is for me that revalidation of like, and you do that a lot actually, right? But it's that revalidation of like, yes, this is exactly where you're supposed to be. And that has helped me immensely when you do that and reflect to me. And I'm trying to do that in my own life. Like, yes, stop trying to get to where you think you need to be. Just be here. Like it is okay to be exactly where you are. And it's a good thing that you're here. Like, you are meant to be here. And that constant reminder of just like, yeah, you chose this. Your fucking choice. You chose this, right? You signed up for this. You were meant to be here. The you that signed up for this is maybe waning, right? Oh my God, the money feels like it's bleeding out of my account or whatever. The you that signed up for this, hey, trust that you, because that's the you that, you know, directs your sales.
So, are you a ruler, a connector, or a maverick? Hang on, maybe you're more of a romantic or a celebrity. Take the money personality quiz right now and find out which of the 8 money archetypes you are. And then I'm going to teach you how to profit from your strengths and make money in your business based on your natural personality. Click below and find out more.